Okay, good morning, class. Today we begin with a new chapter in history named as Religious Beliefs and Devotional Paths. Now, again, the time period which we have medieval period. Now, it was that time when the Turks and Afghans were ruling, where the slave dynasty began, then the Khiljis, Tughlaqs, etc., Sayyids, Lodhis, then the Mughal rulers with the coming of Babur till the weak ruler Aurangzeb. Now, this was the entire time when various uh, cultures were evolving, and the old age religion called Hinduism, which had certain, because of the priests and because of the complex Ved language, which was not known to the common people, the Hinduism was taking a back seat. So it was this time when revival of Hinduism took place under various saints, and they started basically the new movement which was known as the Bhakti movement. Okay, so we'll be knowing about the religious beliefs at those times and the devotional paths chosen by these various Bhakti saints and the Sufi saints, etc. So here we are. The medieval period saw the rise of two religious philosophies which influenced the life of the people. These were the Bhakti and Sufi philosophies. So now they are telling you the two philosophies which were introduced to the people at this time regarding the religious point of view was the Bhakti movement and the Sufi philosophy or the Sufi movement. Now, these philosophies were not new to the people. What was new was the increasing importance of these trends in the life of the people. The idea of devotion, bhakti, was first initiated in the Bhagavad Gita. So now here they are telling you that what evolved as Bhakti movement or Sufi movement was not nothing new to the people. It was known to the people since ages. भक्ति क्या है, डिवोशन क्या है, ईश्वर की पूजा क्या है, all this was known to the people, but a new meaning was given to them with this particular movement, with the coming of the saints, preaching of these people. They helped in making people realize, rather re-realize the importance. Now, every religion teaches that we should love each other. We should have a brotherhood, a bond of brotherhood, a bond of humanity. Now, every religion teaches, and we know it also, but many a times we do not follow. So it was under these two, three movements, the Bhakti movement, the Sufi movement, etc., which told us, which revived, switch off the mic, which revived these thinkings. And it was then that people got guided by these various saints and they worked accordingly. Children, I request you, it is really very disturbing to see you all and stop the lecture and then talk to you. It is a wastage of your time. So they are telling you that this Bhakti movement was not that it was something new. It was given in Bhagavad Gita, which was an old grantha of the Hindus. So Bhagavad Gita, if you know, Gita is the holy book of Hindus. So it was mentioned, and it was later on during this time, it was revived. People again emphasized on this, and it became a movement. So now let's talk of Bhakti movement. The Bhakti movement rose to popularity in the medieval period. It was a new religious movement led by the Alvar and the Nayanar saints of South India. Please underline Alvar, underline Nayanar. Now, these were two groups of saints. They were preaching in South India, that means the lower portion of India. During the medieval period, the movement spread to the north as well. Now, earlier it was confined only in the southern India, but gradually it also spread in the northern parts of India. These saints were sharply critical of the Buddhists and the Jains and preached that the path of salvation could be reached through ardent love of Vishnu or Shiva. Now, basically, these saints laid emphasis on the bhakti of or the devotion for Lord Vishnu or Lord Shiva. These were the two Hindu gods. Children, this is very disturbing. Please check it who is doing it. Who's opening the mic? All you don't want the class to continue, I'll stop. I want the name of the child who has opened the mic right now. Okay, leave it. So the saints basically wanted to revive the love for Lord Vishnu or Lord Shiva. They were either the supporters or the worshippers of Vishnu or Shiva. And they were totally against Buddhism and Jainism. Why? Because they thought that just because of coming of these two religions, the Hinduism, the movement for bhakti has suffered. So they wanted to re-preach, re-revise the Hindu culture, and that is why these saints worked hard and they were in ardent love. They wanted to reach the salvation. Salvation means path of salvation means the path of getting moksha. Salvation is कि जहाँ आप अच्छाई और बुराई से ऊपर उठ के काम करते हैं, जहाँ आप लाभ और हानि से ऊपर उठकर काम करते हैं, that is called salvation. Okay, when you leave the world and be peaceful, I mean, leave the world, you don't have to die, but you leave the worldly pleasures and get into love for the God. Now, the Nayanars and Alvars went from place to place, composing poems in praise of the deities and set them to music. Now, to preach their sayings, to preach what they were saying, they chose the poetical form. They used to write verses and in praises of their Lord, they used to sing these verses and spread the word all around. They would go and tell people to follow this and live with these facts. Okay, between the 10th and the 12th centuries. Underline this, the 10th and the 12th centuries, the Chola kings built many temples around the shrines visited by these saints. Now, basically, these shrines were the places where the holy pilgrimage were. So these Chola kings, they built number of temples during this time. Religious biographies or hagiographies of the Alvars and the Nayanars were also composed at this time. So basically, these saints, they wrote about their lifestyle, they wrote about the things which were prevalent, their preachings, they kept it in a biographical form, which were also known as underline the hagiographies. Okay, hagiographies, underline this, and these were compiled together not only by Alvars but also by the Nayanar saints. Okay, now they talk of the Nayanars and the Alvars in separate headings. Let's go through it. Now, Nayanars, there were 63 Nayanars. They belonged to various castes like workers, peasants, potters, and hunters. The Nayanars worshipped Lord Shiva. The most famous among them, Sambandar, Sundarara, underline these, and Manikavasagar were apart. Now they are saying that there were 63 Nayanar saints and they belong to various castes. And they were not only from the upper, but basically they were also from the lower and more from the lower caste. They were workers, peasants, potters, hunters, etc. And they worshipped Lord Shiva. Their ultimate devotion was towards Lord Shiva. And they have given you the names of certain Nayanar saints, underline them for your knowledge. Now, there were two sects of com- what is it? Compilation, sorry. There were two sets of compilation of their songs, Tevaram and Thiruvachakam. Please underline Tevaram and Thiruvachakam. That means the songs or the hymns that they sang were compiled in these two books or two headings known as Tevaram and Thiruvachakam. Clear? These are the important details given to us by the about the Nayanar saints. Now then we come on to the Alvars. They were 12 in number. Underline the number 12, and please earlier also underline 63. The Nayanar saints were 63, and here there were prominent 12 alvars from various castes. Now again here the castes were even from the lower ones. Okay, the best known was Pariyallavar. Underline this. The famous saint, then his daughter Andal and Nammalvar. Please underline Andal and Nammalvar. These were the two other saints. Their songs were compiled in Divya Prabandham. Now, the book where they compiled their songs was known as Divya Prabandham. Underline this. The Alvars worshipped Lord Vishnu. Now, these were the saints who worshipped Lord Vishnu. Now, we come on to the philosophy and bhakti. Shankara was one of the most famous philosophers of India. Born in Kerala sorry, in the 8th century, sorry, kids. So they're telling you that Shankara, he was the famous philosophers of India. He was born in Kerala, underline Kerala, in the 8th century. Okay. He advocated Advaitism, a doctrine that preached oneness of the individual soul and the supreme God. Now, the term Advaitism means that when a human soul reunites with one that is supreme and that is God. So, uniting of one's soul with God is known as Advaitism. In Hindi, it would be ईश्वर और इंसान का एक से एक दूसरे का में लीन हो जाना, मिल जाना is known as Advaitism. Okay, here they have given you in brackets Atma and Paramatma. Okay, the soul that is Atma when meets with Paramatma, that means God, is known as Advaitism. He called the world around us as Maya. Now, whatever this world is, it is of pleasure. It is full of pleasure. It is full of desire. It is an illusion. Maya means illusion, which is not true. Illusion means something which is not true. So that means he talked of that all these worldly pleasures which we are just now having, which we are taking, basically is nothing is basically not going to lead us towards anything. Why? Because in the end, a person dies and then the soul reunites with God. So all these worldly pleasures stay behind. So all this is just an illusion. It is not true. To be involved in these pleasures will not lead to anything. So he then says he preached adoption of the right path of knowledge and renunciation of the world to understand the true nature of God, the Creator. So now he said that we should have a right path. That means the right working should be done. And how can that be attained by? It could be attained by the path of knowledge. आपका ज्ञान आपको हर चीज का ज्ञान can lead to that right path. If you're ignorant, if you're illiterate, you won't be able to. Then the other key for meeting God and uniting with Him was renunciation of the world. Renunciation means to leave the world. That means all the bonds, all the worldly pleasures should not be above God. That means all these worldly pleasures will not last forever. They will end one day or the other. When a human soul dies, when a human body dies, he cannot have these worldly pleasures along with him. But if he has been dedicated to God's service, then after death, the soul would reunite with the ultimate creator, that is God. So then another saint who gave the philosophy was Ramanuja. Ramanuja was a saint from Tamil Nadu. Like Shankara was a saint from Kerala, he was from Tamil Nadu, underline it, born in the 11th century. Now he was born in the 11th century, whereas Shankara was born in the 8th century. He was the follower of Lord Vishnu. Now, underline Ramanuja was the follower of Lord Vishnu. He taught his disciples that union with God, that devotion to the Lord was the only means of union with God. So now Ramanuja also emphasized that the best way to unite human soul with God was through union, was through the best way of devoting oneself was through uniting with God. His message was carried forward by his disciple Ramananda, Kabir, and Nanak. So now rejected all orthodox religions, but Tulsidas and Surdas existing beliefs and practices. So now they are telling you that few among the Bhakti saints who followed the principles were Shankara, Ramanuja, then his disciples. The disciples of Ramanuja were disciples means the followers. Who were the disciples? The Ramananda, then Kabir, then Nanak. All these were the followers of these people, and they had their religious inclination. Apart from this, Surdas and Tulsidas, they accepted the oneness of God. Then Tulsidasa's Ramcharitmanas in Awadhi is found in every Hindu household. That means home you will find Ramcharitmanas. It's a basic principle, the life of Lord Rama. So underline Tulsidasa's Ramcharitmanas. Okay. Then he was a devotee of Lord Rama. Surdas was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. So now they are telling you Surdas, he was a dedicated worshipper of Lord Krishna, and Tulsidas, he was of Lord Rama. His devotion is expressed in Sursagar, Sur Saravali, and Sahitya Lahiri. So you can underline the work compiled by Surdas is given in three compilations, three books known as Sursagar, Sur Saravali, and Sahitya Lahiri. Is this much clear to each one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's move on. Basavana's Veera Shaivism. Now, Basavana was the name of a saint, and what he preached was the Veera Shaivism. Let's see what is it. Basavana started a new movement called Veera Shaivism, Veera Shiva. He began in it began in Karnataka in the mid 12th century. Underline Veera Shiva. So he started a movement known as Veera Shiva, and it was started in Karnataka, which is again in the south. And the years and the time period was the mid 12th century. Okay, he preached equality of all human beings and was against caste and ill treatment of women. Underline against caste system. He was against all the castes. He did not believe in the division on the basis of caste. He considered that all human beings are born equal. And the next thing which he was following was the ill treatment of women. He was against it. He was totally against the caste system and the ill treatment done to women. Supported by Allama, underline Allama Prabhu and Akka Mahadevi, underline, they also preached against idol worship and rituals. So his supporters were Allama Prabhu and Akkama Akka Mahadevi. So these were the two who supported, and they believed that one should not go for idol worship and rituals. Rituals means the complex religious working. Okay, like ईश्वर की पूजा तो हम मन में ही कर सकते हैं. We don't need to, you know, put forward an incense stick. अगरबत्ती या दीप बत्ती जलाने की कोई जरूरत नहीं, मंदिर में जाने की कोई जरूरत नहीं. The God is within us and we can do all this without excessive pomp and show. So all the rituals could be avoided. Worship should be very simple and very to the point. We don't need a medium to worship. So this is what they believed in. We stop here. I hope you've understood.